WNST. We got so many things happening. We got basketball and football and draft and all this stuff, but all eyes on the Orioles, the Blue Jays. Little reunion of sorts, and the last time we saw these guys, we weren't real happy about the outcome. This guy's a longtime broadcaster calling Blue Jays radio. He is their play-by-play voice, as well as the host of Blue Jays Talk, and you can follow him, as tens of thousands of Jays fans across Canada do, at Wilderness 590, one of our defending champions, one of our favorite dudes to have on to talk baseball. Mike Wilner joins us live via satellite to talk all things Blue Jays on the eve of the season. Mike, what's happening, man? Last time we saw you, we were all scratching our heads saying, Buck did what? Buck left who in the game again?
Yeah, that was a fun day for us. I know you just said we weren't too pleased with the result, but I think that would be the we over there in Baltimore. We thought it was lovely. And Edwin Encarnacion hit one of the now probably 5 biggest home runs in Blue Jays history off of Ubaldo Jimenez, who Blue Jays fans could not have been more thrilled to see come out of the bullpen instead of Zach Britton in that game.
Do you have any explanation? I mean, you do Blue Jays Talk. I mean, we've done 6 months of this, and there still has never been any explanation. I mean, not even Buck just saying, like, I had a brain fart or, there's never – it's just, well, that was last year, and here we go again. Boy, for being the genius at that particular moment, it's still an inexplicable outcome, right? I mean, for all of us who've watched baseball as long as we have, who also all have a lot of respect for Buck Showalter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Buck just sort of fell into the trap, and it's a trap that a lot of major league managers fall into, in saving your closer for a save situation when you're at home and the game's going long. And I don't understand it. I've never understood it. We see it happen so often, and for me, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like, what are you waiting for? Why would you save your best bullet for a situation that may never arise? But for me, that's just what Buck did. He did what a lot of other managers do at home, at home in extra innings. You hold off and you wait until you get into a save situation so that you have your closer to lock it down. It makes zero sense to me. And as you guys all saw in Baltimore, he held off. And you know what? Had he used Britton in the 10th, maybe things would never have been any different. But at some point in time, you have to be aware that you don't want to leave your best bullet in the chamber, and that's exactly what Showalter did.
It really changed the trajectory of the entire postseason, I thought, in the way that Andrew Miller was used, in the way that Chapman was used, and I think maybe forever. I don't think that'll ever happen again. I mean, I think Buck Showalter will be the last manager that leaves his best pitcher in extra innings in that kind of knockout Game 7. It's just that'll never happen in October again, I don't believe.
I hope not. It was a horrible, horrible mistake.
He is Mike Wilner in Toronto. All right, so Encarnacion, where we left off with you guys, he was ending our season with the Rocket there, now gone. And I think for both of these teams, and I was talking about this over the weekend, this is the time you make the prediction. This is the time where you say, all right, they're really going to win 90 games. They're going to win 85. I mean, how many games are they going to win? I got the Orioles at 78, and I'm not a pessimist. I mean, I thought they'd win 88 last year. I thought they'd win 93 the year before. I've gone back and looked at my predictions. I'm just not bullish on them because I don't think they have the pitching, and I don't think either one of these teams are better teams than they were the last time we saw them. Can you make a case that the Blue Jays are better now than they were last October?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, maybe not a lot, but it's possible that they are slightly better. They replaced Edwin Encarnacion with Kendrys Morales, which not a lot of people didn't really register, because when you hear all these stories about the Blue Jays, it's Jays with no Edwin. Well, yeah, but Kendrys Morales is here, and Kendrys Morales arguably is just as good a hitter as Edwin Encarnacion. The thing about Kendrys, he hit 30 homers last year in Kansas City in the AL Central with there are 3 or 4 ballparks in that division where you just can't hit home runs, and so it's not a huge stretch to expect Kendrys to have a huge power jump, just like Josh Donaldson. He came over from Oakland, and Donaldson had hit 28 home runs in Oakland, where it's a pitcher's ballpark. Kansas City's a pitcher's ballpark. Kendry's at 30. So I am expecting Morales to hit more than 30 home runs, to hit close to 40 home runs, and to do a very good job, very good job in that cleanup spot as the Blue Jays designated hitter. So for me, Edwin is replaced. Jose Bautista only played in like 112 games last year because of a couple of freak injuries, and it really was tough for him to come back, and his numbers showed it. But if you prorate those numbers over 162 games, I mean, it's still, you don't have to prorate the on-base percentage. It's still 366, and it was over 30 homers, over 100 runs scored, over 100 RBIs for 162 games. So I'm not worried about Jose Bautista at all. Last year wasn't a case of his body breaking down. It was him running into a wall and him catching a spike on the turf, and that knocked him out for a month each. So hopefully, he can stay away from the freak injuries, and that's a big boost for the Blue Jays as well. And they also lost Michael Saunders, and Michael Saunders was an all-star last year, had a phenomenal first half, was awful after the All-Star game. I think he hit about 150 with just a couple of home runs. He destroyed the Orioles, but nobody else after the break. And it's an interesting thing, and I wish I had the exact specific numbers. And I love Michael Saunders. But if you go on a deep dive through the situational numbers of Michael Saunders last year, he was one of the worst clutch hitters in Major League history last year. And that was even at the All-Star break when he was going so well. So apparently none of his hits came in big situations. So, you replace that with Steve Pearce. You guys know what Steve Pearce is. The very, very good hitter when you can keep him on the field. Hopefully the Jays get like 100, 120 games out of him. And so, there's uptick there from Bautista 2016 to 17, from Saunders to Pearce. Edwin to Kendrys is not necessarily an uptick, but it's not a downtick. You have Devin Travis, who's healthy now, and Devin Travis was the only Blue Jay to hit 300 last year. He only played 100 games. He had a shoulder thing, then he had a knee thing in the playoffs. So if he's healthy, that's a big boost. So yeah, there's the offense really underperformed last year for the Blue Jays, and so one hopes that the offense will. I mean, it's not going to return to 2015 levels where they led the league by over 100 runs, but hopefully they'll be closer to 15 than they were to 16 offensively. And as far as the pitching staff goes, you've got a healthy Marco Estrada, who had a bad back all year last year. He's going to start opening day, the Blue Jays' fourth opening day starter in 4 years. And the fifth starter's gone. R.A. Dickey was the fifth starter last year. He had his worst season as a Blue Jay, which was still okay. It's replaced with Francisco Liriano, who was unbelievable for the Jays in August and September, and in the playoffs in that wild card game. And he's had a fantastic spring. And he's added to a starting rotation that led the league in ERA by almost a half a run, which nobody seems to recognize how good the Blue Jays starting rotation is. So, yeah, there's reason to believe they could be a little bit better. A lot better, I don't think so, but certainly a little bit better. And remember, this is a team that was in first place in the division on September 1st.
Well, in the case of Stroman and watching him, and I guess for all these WBC guys, and Joey Bat showed up, and Machado on our side, and Scope, and the guys, but the guys in the American team, and seeing these guys play and seeing them get that sort of confidence, I think he's the guy that if he could make that leap, it's always about the guys who are ascending. I see him as one of those guys that, I have no problem believing he's going to be better than last year. I'm having a hard time believing Jay Happ could be any better than he was last year.
Yeah, I don't think Jay Happ can be better than he was last year. I think it's a stretch to imagine that Happ is as good as he was last year. I mean, 20 wins, and you could have made a case for him for the Cy Young Award. I think he finished 6th or 7th in the voting. But yeah, that's the best year Jay Happ likely is ever going to have. But Stroman's got room to be better. He was awful through a 6-week stretch in May and June, and that really cut down his numbers for the whole season. But he started that wild card game, and he pitched great. He was also their opening day starter last year, started the home opener last year, so first game out of the All-Star break. I mean, he was really terrific outside of those rough 6 weeks. Marco Estrada's got room to improve because he pitched all year with a bad back, and even while he pitched all year with a bad back, he set a major league record. I think it was 14 straight starts of at least 6 innings and no more than 5 hits. It was unbelievable. And the one time he gave it up, the 15th game, was where he could barely move, but he still pitched 5 innings with a bad back and gave up like 6 hits. His numbers are certainly, you should expect them to go up. And Aaron Sanchez won the ERA title last year. So he's awfully good, and he's got ace stuff. It really, I mean, I do expect a dip from Happ, but I expect a jump from Stroman and Estrada. And I think the starting rotation is really, I mean, it's really, really good.
Mike Wilner making a case for the Blue Jays to take the American League East crown here as opening week kicks off. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at WilnerNess590. He is the Blue Jays radio play-by-play voice as well as the host of Blue Jays Talk. And next time we get together, we're going to talk about Cheesy's 80 music, and we'll sing some songs together like, Almost Paradise or something. I'm just trying to think of something really cheesy. Something by Heart, maybe. I don't know.
That's a terrific song. Oh, you got a Canadian on that. That was nicely done.
Hey, Geddy Lee is, I can't hate the Blue Jays the way that I'd like to hate the Blue Jays just because Geddy's involved. I mean, we've been through this before. So, beginning the season with you guys, that's one thing. And then there's the Red Sox and there's the Yankees and seeing the Rays beating up on the Yankees to start the season. But the Orioles here, quite the conundrum. No one is picking the Orioles to finish in first place. No one is picking the Orioles to finish in second place. Yet they always seem to overachieve. The little engine that Buck could. Boy, I'm worried about the pitching. You've watched this a long time. This hasn't been a very good offseason for the Orioles. If they were serious about making strides forward, I don't see that this is progress. The 17 Orioles.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that there was last year either, right? When we were saying the same stuff at the beginning of last season about the Orioles, and then they made the playoffs. On a personal level, I have always thought, I've never bought into Baltimore, never. And I've always thought they're going to fade, that they just, it's the pitching. They don't have the pitching. And what was their starting pitcher, like 26th in the major leagues last year or something? You look at them, they don't have the pitching. How are they going to win? And yet they do. So, yeah, I don't expect Baltimore to be any good this year, but that's par for the course, and they defy my expectations all the time. So, you return Trumbo. You've still got Davis and Machado and Hardy. You switch off Wieters for Castillo, so you're going to lose a little bit, maybe you gain a little bit of power from Wellington. It's the same team that it always is, and somehow they keep winning like more than 85 games every season. So I don't understand it. We'll see if it ends this year, but as little as I expect from the Orioles, I wouldn't bet against them.
You buying what the Red Sox are selling, Mike?
Well, they're really good. They were really good last year, obviously, and they added Chris Sale. David Price getting hurt certainly doesn't help. Neither does Tyler Thornburg getting hurt, and Carson Smith still being hurt, and Uehara's gone, and it's a good team.
By the way, Ortiz is gone too. We keep forgetting. You're about the fifth guy that just forgot that part. But yeah, they lost their best player, right?
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? When everybody talks about this great Boston offense, nobody says, "Oh, by the way, hey, it's Mitch Moreland, not David Ortiz anymore." But I still expect them to be very good. Having learned my lesson from the 2015 Blue Jays. And they're great offense, and they appeared to improve it over the offseason, and they scored like more than 100 fewer runs. I do not expect Boston to be the offensive juggernaut this year that it was last year. But I do. They won the division last year, and they didn't get demonstrably worse, and they added Chris Sale. So it's tough to pick against them.
I think the Yankees are still the snakes in the grass here with all these young players and sort of the upside of the Sanchez and the other players they've gotten in those deals. They worry me. Everybody seems to think that they have just stunk the last couple of years. No, they haven't. They just haven't been great. They've been good enough that you don't want to see them in September somehow, some way. If they're still in the race, if they hang around and nobody runs away and hides because of the Price injury and the Orioles aren't good enough and the Blue Jays don't pitch enough or whatever, the Yankees still in this thing in July, they will be the ones making the big deals, I think.
I wonder. I mean, they've certainly got the talent in the farm now to pick up anybody they want, but they seem pretty committed to staying under the luxury tax threshold for a year, and then going hard that the free agent year in a couple of years when it's Harper and Machado and Donaldson and guys like that who are going to hit the market. So I don't know if they're going to make the big deal, at least for the pricey guy, but. I don't see it. I love the fact that people get so excited about exciting young players, and exciting young players are very exciting. It's true, but very often they're not that good early in their career, and it takes a while to get rolling. I mean, Gary Sanchez is not going to hit 70 home runs this year for the New York Yankees. And they're starting last week. In spring training, the Yankees still didn't have a fourth and a fifth starter that they found, and when does that ever happen to the New York Yankees? So I'm not buying what they're selling. I mean, you're right; they haven't been bad. They were in the playoffs 2 years ago, and they were over 500 last year in a division in which 3 teams made the playoffs, which is really hard to do. But I don't really see them being a factor yet, not this year.
Who's your surprise team this year? Who are you putting your dollar on to maybe make a run into September and October that we don't hear of? Last year I put my dollar on the Astros, and I didn't, it was like a losing lottery ticket. But the Rockies, the Mariners, there's some teams out there feeling their way like they're on some level of improvement, right?
Yeah, and the Mariners would be mine. I thought they were going to be pretty good last year. They weren't, but they made a run a couple of years ago, and they've changed things around a little bit. Jerry DiPoto's made 170 trades in the last week and a half, or whatever it is, and this is an interesting team, and it's a team that. I'm not in love with Gene Segura as your leadoff man. I don't think he's a big on-base guy, but I like Felix Hernandez. I like James Paxton. I love Edwin Diaz and a couple of other guys in their bullpen. And, that ballpark you can pitch, and it makes your pitchers look a lot better. So, I think that if there's a sleeper team that I'm looking at, it would be Seattle.
Hey, man, always great to visit with you and begin the day with a friendly voice. There you go, a little Geddy Lee in there for you. Hey, Leafs and the Capitals going to do this in the first round, or maybe Ottawa, but I'm pulling for a Leafs-Caps first rounder because I want to come up to TO and hang out and watch the Blue Jays play a little bit, I think.
Well, if they do, you're more than welcome to come hang out with us, and whether they're playing the Orioles or not, we'd love to see you out there in the booth. But honestly, I have just been completely and thoroughly immersed in baseball the last 6 weeks. I haven't paid 1 second of attention to what's going on with hockey. I heard...
Dude, are you the only Canadian? I mean, literally, you're the only Canadian not paying attention to hockey, right? It's a big deal up there. The Leafs are playing well, right?
It is a very big deal up here. That they're young, they're exciting, they're fun. Austin Matthews just set the club record for goals in a season by a rookie, but honestly, if I'm not the only one. Every one of us that was down there in Florida was paying zero attention to the Leafs because we're banging out 14 hours a day of baseball content. But yeah, this city is extraordinarily excited about the Maple Leafs. Absolutely.
Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball. Hey, happy opening day to you, Mike. Thanks for the visit. Always a pleasure, my man.
Thanks. A happy opening day to you, too.
You got it. Mike Wilner. He is Wilnerness590 out on Twitter, and the longtime Blue Jays radio play-by-play broadcaster and host of Blue Jays Talk. Tens of thousands follow him, and you can follow him at sportsnet.ca as well. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. Happy opening day to everybody celebrating, drinking, having fun, and getting back into the old baseball spirit. We got Caps, we got Wizards, we got the draft coming up, we got the Liars Luncheon this week, and of course, anything you missed, you get in the morning newspaper. It's delivered to your email inbox at 7 a.m. every morning. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but never least, breaking news happens first on our WNST tech service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Kolatzis will be here on Thursday driving you home from 3 until 5. It is a really, really good time of the year, and I don't just mean the weather. Lots of good stuff going on. Baseball always brings back some good memories and gets your vibe going here for the day in and day out. Hopefully the Orioles will be better than I think they're going to be, but I have them at 78 wins. And we were arguing about that out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and everywhere else that we stream, including our WNS TV channel on YouTube and Facebook Live, where we stream all the time. Don't forget, our London trip is up and running. $100 discount for anybody who's been on a WNST trip in the past. Throw me a note, nasty@WNST.net. We'll get you some personal help. Green Bay, Nashville, Minnesota, and wherever the Raiders are playing, Pittsburgh. We're going to be doing all those trips 2 weeks from now when the league gets the schedule together, but we're on it. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.